Little Miss Perfect. Every morning around 9 a.m. sharp, Daisy the diesel rail car can be seen gliding along the rails during her morning passenger service. She is very pleased with this job, and as she says, she is highly sprung, and anything smelly is bad for her swerves. And while she was brought to the railway to assist the other engines, I'm afraid that was not the case. Because of her vanity, she refuses to take any goods. Engines like Toby and Percy had accepted Daisy's behavior due to the fact that they had dealt with her the longest. But Thomas or Mavis, on the other hand, had grown tired of her constant admiring of herself. And it wasn't long before Percy began to feel the same way.
What a marvelous day to admire my new coat of paint. Splendid, isn't it?
Yes, very splendid. Now, if you don't mind, I have to get this train off to the...
Oh yes. Be on your way with your silly little rocks.
Mavis was taken aback.
These rocks aren't silly. Why, they are very important. Perhaps if you did my job, you would know that even the dirtiest things are important.
But Daisy only scoffed.
You don't know real work when you see it, and my paintwork agrees. Unlike your grimy, dusty paintwork, it's a mess.
Soon it was time for Daisy to leave. She looked back at a furious Mavis.
And please, keep your dirty rocks away from my luxurious paintwork. It's bad for my swerves.
Poor Mavis couldn't find the words to retort. All she did was glare furiously at Daisy as she left for the junction and headed for the main line.
I can't stand it with her anymore. She keeps disrespecting goods, and all she does, if she's given trucks, is moan for all hours. How do you lot stand her?
Well, when she first arrived, me and Percy decided we'd try to ignore her. She's not all that bad either. I'm sure she has a heart somewhere in her engine.
But Mavis wasn't convinced. Just then, Percy arrived. He was covered from smokebox to boiler in coal dust. Toby was surprised.
Bless my bell! Percy, what happened to you?
Major coal order at the coal depot. I had to take 15 trucks to Tidmouth. Right now, I'm just hoping for a washdown.
Did you see Daisy by any chance?
No, why?
Well, that's good. I just had enough with Little Miss Perfect anyway.
And Mavis scuttled back to the quarry. Now Percy was puzzled.
What's up with her?
Poor Mavis had a run-in with Daisy.
Toby paused.
Though she does have a point. Her highly sprung attitude has gotten a bit out of hand lately. I just hope she won't take it too far.
But he said it to himself. For the next few days, one by one, the engines of the Farquhar branch line became victims to Daisy's highly sprung behavior. Whether it be constant nagging about her swerves, refusing to take even one truck in favor of not spoiling her paint, or belittling other engines over their work, like goods.
They're not all that bad. Some goods are not dirty. Perhaps if you took a train then you'll understand.
Oh, I like to see that happen.
Later that night, the engines held an indignation meeting. It was lucky for them that Daisy was asleep.
I can't stand having to deal with Little Miss Perfect's antics anymore. I can hardly feel my wheels because of her.
You're not the only one who had to deal with her. Earlier today, she called me a filthy green caterpillar and made the workmen give her a wash down. By the time they were finished, I had to wait until after my afternoon mail run to get a wash down.
Sounds like Daisy's getting a lot more full of herself.
Or to the point of looking down on us.
What?
You too?
I'm afraid so. Last week before I left with Henrietta on our morning run, Daisy was getting prepared for the day's work, and she looked down on Henrietta since she looked grimy, and as she put it, not fit for passengers.
The engines agreed that something had to be done with Little Miss Perfect, but didn't know exactly what. Later that night, however, Thomas hatched a plan. He told Percy all about it the next day.
Tell Mavis when you get to the quarry.
A mischievous smile crossed the Blue Engine's face.
We'll do it later today.
Percy found it a great idea. And when he told Mavis of Thomas's plan, she was in too. Later that morning, Daisy pulled into the station. Just then, Percy arrived, shunting an old dusty luggage van behind the rail car. Daisy looked at the van in disgust.
What is that?
It's a luggage van. You're taking it on your passenger run today.
Daisy looked crossly back at the van.
Not in that state. Go give it a polish.
But there won't be enough time to do so. You wouldn't want to disappoint your passengers now, would you?
But all Daisy did was roll her eyes, pretending not to hear.
He has a point, you know.
Hey, best begin moving if we don't want to be late.
She sighed heavily and knew that her crew were right. The shunter fastened the coupling, and the passengers placed their luggage in the van. The guard blew his whistle, and off they set. Poor Daisy grumbled dreadfully as she glided down the line with the old, filthy van trailing behind her. She felt very embarrassed. She passed Thomas pulling a slow goods train. The little blue engine shot her a sly look. The plan was going smoothly. Presently, Daisy arrived at Marin Station. Mavis was there.
How can anyone see me pulling a grimy little truck as this? I'm a diesel rail car, not a filthy goods engine.
Mavis took no notice. She then commenced phase 2 of the plan.
You poor thing. How about you take my route to Knapford? That is where you're picking up passengers, right?
Yes.
Well then, you can take my route to Knapford while I take your luggage bag back to the yards on my return trip.
Daisy smiled. She liked the sound of that. And soon she was uncoupled from the van and left it in the siding for Mavis. It wasn't long before the passengers got on board. The guard blew his whistle, and she set off. What Daisy didn't know was that Mavis didn't have a route, and the route she told her of didn't lead to Knapford. By the time she made it onto the wrong line, it was too late. Daisy was surprised when she arrived, for the route she was told to take led to the fishing village. Arthur was there, shunting salt vans into place.
Oh, hello there. I don't think I've seen you here before. Are you lost by any chance?
Daisy didn't respond. All she did was stare disgustedly at the many crates of fish being loaded into Arthur's trucks. She felt very silly. At last, she growled crossly into Knapford Station. She was late, the passengers threw complaints at her. Her driver and the right-hand man went on and on about what a bad railway it was. Nearby, Thomas had witnessed the whole ordeal and began to set the last phase of his plan into motion. It wasn't long before the crew arrived back from their lunch break. But as they started Thomas up, nothing happened. Thomas then began to moan helplessly.
Oh dear, I've got such a pain. I don't think I can continue with my branch line run.
My word, what happened? You were working fine earlier today.
Something must have gone wrong once we've arrived. Well, whatever happened, we can't continue in this state.
Thomas smiled to himself, and then winked at Annie and Clarabelle.
Oh, please, Daisy, can you take the rest of the way, please? I don't know if I have enough strength to continue.
Annie and Clarabelle blinked. They knew exactly what to do to teach Daisy a lesson. But Daisy refused.
I would never pull such rusted wagons like those two. It would spoil my paint.
I'm afraid we've got no choice. Come along, Daisy. Won't be too long.
Daisy groaned heavily as the passengers climbed on board. She pulled out of the platform, switched tracks, and backed onto the coaches. Soon Daisy was coupled to Annie and Clarabelle. She had not been waiting there long when the clock struck 2. The guard blew the whistle, and the grumbling rail car departed. Thomas chuckled quietly to himself as Edward coupled up to him and took him back to Farquhar. Meanwhile, Daisy couldn't help but grumble as she made her way down the main line. Annie and Clarabelle, however, decided to commence their part of the plan. Their part was to put their brakes on to slow Daisy down. She suddenly felt the weight on her buffers strengthen as if by magic.
Oh, come along, you. You're much heavier than I thought.
We're sorry, dearie, but we're not modern Celsius.
Yes, indeed. Please do us a favor and be patient. We'll be at the station in record time.
Daisy gnashed her teeth with anger. This was the final straw.
Easy, Daisy. We don't want to get into trouble now, don't we?
But the fuming rail car wasn't listening to him. All of a sudden, she surged forward, releasing Annie and Clarabelle's brakes, much to everyone's surprise.
Oh dear.
Daisy, what are you doing?
The next they knew, Daisy began rocketing down the line, dragging both coaches behind her. Annie and Clarabelle screamed in sheer terror as they raced past Tidmouth at a dangerous speed.
Daisy, stop! We're going too fast!
You're not built to speed like this!
The right-hand man was right, and by the time Daisy had found her mistake, it was too late. The crew leapt out of her cab just as she entered Farquhar, and raced directly into the carriage shed.
Well, that wasn't according to plan.
Sir Topham Hatt wasn't pleased when he arrived.
What on earth has happened here? I've been getting complaints from the passengers at Nap when an old luggage van was left at Marin Station, and now Daisy crashed into the coach shed.
Sir, I overheard Thomas say something about a plan, and I could have sworn I saw Percy talking to Mavis about something at the quarry with a luggage van that looked exactly like the one at Marin.
Sir Topham Hatt's eyes darted to the three engines. Percy gave a nervous gulp.
I shall speak with you three later tonight. As for you, Daisy, once you have been repaired, I shall have a word with you about your behavior the past few days.
Yes, sir.
Boko took Daisy to the works to get her front buffers mended. While she was at the works, Sir Topham Hatt had a stern word for the three engines about the recent events and ordered Toby to take Annie and Clarabelle on his run. They and Henrietta both felt sorry for Thomas.
Maybe next time you should think before doing something ridiculous.
Thomas, Percy, and Mavis could only agree. Once Daisy was repaired, however, the three engines had their victory. Sir Topham Hatt had ordered Daisy to shunt trucks in the yards as a way of showing her that all work, even the dirtiest, was important. The engines were relieved that Little Miss Perfect was finally taught a perfect lesson.
Morning, Daisy. I'm here for my train.
Daisy just sulked. She had enough with trucks for one day. That shows you, doesn't it?
Straight hair, straight A's, straightforward, straight past. I don't cut corners, I make a point to be on time. Head out the student council, I don't black out at parties. I jam to Paul McCartney. If you ask me how I'm doing, I'll say, well, I was adopted when I was 2. My parents spoiled me rotten often. I ask myself, what did I do to get as far as I've gotten? A pretty girl walks by my locker. My heart gives a flutter, but I don't dare utter a word, 'cause that would be absurd behavior for Little Miss Perfect. Na 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 na, no, I can't risk falling off my throne.